Hello, family. It's Terry, aka Taprecords, here in Evanston, Illinois, and today we're visiting Squeezebox Books and Music. Hello, this is Terry, aka Taprecords in Evanston, Illinois, and I'm here with Tim at Squeezebox Books and Music. Hi, Tim.
Hey Terry, how are you?
I'm well, man. Thanks a lot for agreeing to do this interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Squeezebox Books and Music, how long have you been here?
I opened up this shop about 5 years ago.
Mhm.
I was working independently selling stuff on the internet, and it was really boring. You're working by yourself. You
Right.
know, you got no customers except angry people writing back via email and things like that. If anybody's happy on the internet, they don't write back to you.
No.
If anybody's grumpy on the internet, they write back to you. So I was finding all these cool things at thrift stores, record stores,
Mhm.
you know, in the bargain bins, that kind of stuff. And I thought, you know, I've had a shop before. I should have a shop again.
Yeah.
So here it is.
Oh, fantastic. So what made you decide on Evanston, Illinois?
I live here. It was-
Okay.
Yeah, it was super convenient.
Oh,
You know,
wow,
five
that's perfect.
minutes from home.
Yeah. So books and music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your clientele, is it 50-50 books and music, or?
It really is, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But which is interesting because, you know, if you get a shot of the whole store, you'll see that the records comprise probably 20% of the store, and the
Mhm.
books are more like 80% in terms of what's laid out here.
Right.
But the sales are 50-50.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's fantastic. So how do you get your books? How do you get your records? Do you just go around the country, or buy collections, or people bring stuff in, or how does that
Well,
work?
one of the real bonuses of having a store versus working independently, and this is actually why I opened the store. When I was working by myself, if you go to the thrift stores and to yard sales, things like that, you're kind of getting the second tier stuff. You
Right.
don't really get the top notch stuff. And once you open a store, I found that, and especially after you're a little more established for a year or two,
Mhm.
that people they're moving out of town, they really need to downsize, they'll bring
Right.
you nicer things.
Sure,
For sure.
sure.
I mean, it's the B tier stuff as well as the, you know what, we've had this for 15 years, it's okay to let go of all of our jazz records. We don't need to, you know, haul them across the country kind
Right.
of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the real bonus. So the majority of the stuff does actually just come in through the front door.
Oh, amazing.
And through contacts, because most neighborhoods, you know, if people were friendly anymore, you go knock on every door and you
Right.
find that, you know, 1 out of probably 10 houses, which is a lot, probably still has 100, you know, to 1,000 records.
Just sitting around.
Just sitting in the basement
Mhm,
somewhere.
mhm.
And almost every house has books.
Well, that's true.
Almost
Yeah.
every house has books. So it's more just about being established and building up relationships, things like that.
Fantastic.
So yeah, mostly comes in. I don't travel very far. I always
Mhm.
look. I always dig when I travel.
Oh yeah.
I always stop at a Salvation Army or a estate sale or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Goodwill, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, have you found, you know, with the internet, has that really affected your business, or has it affected what people think they have? Like, for instance, if people were bringing you records before, are they asking for more because they look on the internet and say, "Oh, this is priced for, you know, X amount of dollars," or anything like
yes
that?
Yes and no. I mean, people have always. I've been doing this since 1991,
Mm-hmm.
and people have always been attached to what they feel is a rare thing.
Yes.
And sometimes it's usually very straightforward, and that hasn't changed much. It's extremely popular records that are kind of old now,
Mm-hmm.
like an Elvis Presley record. Like I've got an original Elvis Presley record,
Okay.
and you know, but Elvis Presley sold 1 billion records,
Right.
so they don't quite get that there's a lot of those records floating around. Or I've got a book from 1885,
Mhm.
and granted that's an old book,
Sure.
but at the same time, like what's that book about? Is it just some like romance story that was, sold to ladies in the 1880s?
Right.
Some author you've never heard of. It's interesting that it's an old book, but it still may be worth like $3.
Right. Just because it's old doesn't mean that the price is high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like an original Dickens, printed in England or something, then you've got things to grab onto, things that people are interested in, that kind of thing. So, and the internet certainly has affected that, be it where people do this kind of rough search and don't really understand how things are priced on the internet and so on. Usually, if it's usually disappointing, and it happens maybe twice a year, it doesn't happen that often, where somebody will bring me a stack of stuff, and they've all got Post-it notes on them, like, $75, $120, $44, all this kind of stuff, where they really have done detailed research on the individual items. And I'm not that bothered by it. You would think that it would be confrontational, but it's not really. Either they will talk about it, and I'll try to educate them a little bit on what true pricing really is, and they'll understand and kind of shrug their shoulders like, well, I kind of wasted my time that afternoon looking all this stuff up. When in fact I'd be selling most of those items from $10 to $20. Something like that, right? Or they really take offense and think I'm a jerk and I'm trying to, rip them off.
Right.
But that usually doesn't happen. Usually people will listen to you.
Oh, that's
They're happy
good.
to learn.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's really good because I guess sometimes they don't realize that you have to make a little profit also.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if that $40, that's the final, retail price. I can't offer somebody $40 and still make money on it.
Right.
When in fact there are very few things that you can sell for $40.
Well, that's true nowadays, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing about the internet is that those items that were considered rare in the past, it's really become a gigantic gulf between what's common and what is truly rare.
Right.
There used to be records you could regularly sell or books you could regularly sell for $20, $30, and now they're all $5 records because everybody realizes there's a whole lot out there.
Right.
And you can go online and find, a P-Funk record for $5 or something, versus finding some independent press thing that truly is hard to find.
Right.